welcome to the April 20th, 2021 regular City Commission meeting. We are in Commission chambers, still socially distanced, and I hope you felt welcomed as you came in tonight by our Finance Director, Kelly McGuire, and our Airport Manager, Stephen Licklider. They served as our greeters this evening. I'd like to introduce the folks up in front of you, our Recording Secretary, Cassidy Ritz, our City Clerk, Kate Settle, City Attorney, Randy Hayes, our Zone 1 Commissioner, Dwight Selby, Zone 2 Commissioner Troy Kent.
Hey, everybody.
Our Deputy Mayor and Zone 3 Commissioner Susan Persis.
Hey, everyone.
And Zone 4 Commissioner Rob Littleton. Also, we have City Manager Joyce Shanahan, Assistant City Manager Claire Whitley, and for those of you listening online, I'm Mayor Bill Partington. At this time, if you would please silence your cell phones and rise for the invocation given by Pastor Neil Ganzel Jr. from Coquina Presbyterian Church, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the freedom of government that we enjoy in this country. We thank you for each member of this elected body. We thank you, Lord, for the people who assist them and make these kinds of meetings and all the other parts of government work. We're especially grateful for our police and firefighters. We thank you for those who run our waterworks and take care of the trash, all the things that go on to make this one of the most beautiful little cities in the state of Florida, if not all of the Southeast. We are grateful, all of us, for living here, for that gift from you. We thank you, Father, for the peace that has enveloped our particular part of the world, and for the good work of all the people, the peacemakers in this country, in this particular city, that we might have fair and honest integrity in our discourse with each other, and always a positive outlook towards finding solutions. Thank you that that's the characteristic of the people around this table up here tonight. We do thank you. I pray this all in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Audience remarks, and we will start with Linda Williams.
So good to see y'all. Just want to announce our next Civil Discourse Common Ground meeting is scheduled for next Monday, April 26th, from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on Zoom. And each of you will be receiving an invitation on our board here. Anybody else that would like one, somehow get in touch with me. Linda Williams. Okay, and it's linda@bluegreenalgae.com. So we're calling this meeting Let's Regroup. When we first began, the subject of roads, transit, infrastructure, relevant to increasing traffic in areas of intense development. We focused on what do citizens want and on doing a survey to find out. During our most recent session, the focus was on turn to friendly roads, truly usable for all. And there was the suggestion that we can't widen our way through our traffic issues. And it was a subject, the big subject was trails for pedestrians and cyclists. And on the subject of the survey, comments were, the survey needs to be very short. Public has a short attention span in small bites of 5 to 10 questions. Also, who's our audience? Ormond Beach, Daytona Beach, others. And could we use the city's website to distribute? Use OB Observer, the QR codes that you all are using, and temper our expectation as 1% is a very positive return. And there was a question of what are the city's on-the-shelf trail plans, as advocating for these could bring new sources of funding for roads. So you can see the topic has kind of widened and dispersed, and nobody's really doing anything with the survey. So we really need to come together again and say, what's our next step? And what do how can you help us? And so we really ask for your assistance and anybody from your staff that can come, and I'll be inviting others as well around the city and county. So we hope for your assistance on this topic, and we appreciate so much those who attended last time, and I think Bill was here to thank you. So we look forward to continuing to help the city in any way we can to bring people together rather than to fight over issues. So help us, and we'd love to help you. Thank you.
And next is Julia Truilla.
Good evening, Julia Truillo, 307 John Anderson Drive, and I am here tonight representing Ormond Beach Main Street. And I want to speak tonight about the property at 56 North Beach Street. You're all aware of what Main Street does, but sometimes between our events and our merchant support and our public face, people forget that our mission is not simply entertainment or economic development. Our job is to look holistically at what the core of Ormond Beach is and help improve in ways that both embrace new ideas and preserve what's valuable. The city, through its downtown design standards and support for quality of life programs, has been instrumental in creating an era of positive growth for the Main Street district. Parks, streetscapes, and public gathering spaces are of vital importance to maintaining a sense of place. This idea was reinforced over and over again during public input for the Downtown Master Plan and during the OB Life listening sessions. This commission has a rare opportunity to preserve a piece of Ormond Beach history and provide something the public has asked for. The property at 56 North Beach Street was purchased quickly with the possibility of just such preservation in mind. There was a church on the site since the founding of Ormond Beach. The current mid-century modern structure has stood on the corner of Lincoln and Beach for 61 years. Though currently in a state of moderate disrepair, it has good bones and, if allowed, could be a structure that would be worth restoring and reimagining. I am here tonight with a request from the board of Ormond Main Street. We would like some time to explore possible funding and partnerships for the building, time to develop a plan of work that would serve the city's needs, time even to look for a private investor who might purchase the property and incorporate its history into something unique and special for our area. There will come a time when this commission must decide whether to tear the building down, sell it, or renovate it. But now is not that moment. We're asking the commission to instruct staff to pause any plans for building demolition for at least 6 months and to spend a minimal amount to render the building watertight and dehumidified, to allow Ormond Main Street to pursue funding for a building assessment, to invite its economic development department to look for a developer or a partner who might purchase the property, to consider an interim use of the building for a makerspace or an incubator or even an entrepreneurial site. We are offering to clean up the site with our volunteer labor, with our dollars, and we are happy to help in any way the city deems proper. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and to talk further about this matter. I know it's not currently on the agenda, but soon will be.
Thank you, Julia. All right. We move to approval of minutes. The minutes of the April 6th, 2021 regular city commission meeting have been sent to the commission for review, also posted to the city's website. Any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and we will deem those approved unanimously. And now to the consent agenda. Does any member of the commission wish to pull any of the consent agenda items?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. Do any commissioners wish to comment on any of the consent agenda items? If not, We'll move to public hearings. I will open the public hearings and ask our clerk to read 7A.
Ordinance number 2021-11, an ordinance vacating a portion of Flagler Road abutting 1480 North U.S. Highway 1, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for recordation and transmittal and setting forth an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2021-11, read by title only.
Thank you. I don't have any cards.
Move approval of ordinance 2021-72. Oh, I'm sorry.
11.
Yeah, dash 11. 2021-11.
I second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. 7B.
Ordinance number 2021-12, an ordinance vacating two unnamed alleys lying between lots 1 through 30, Block 59, National Garden Subdivision, within the property at 1480 North U.S. Highway 1, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, providing for recordation and transmittal, and setting forth an effective date.
Thank you. Again, no cards on 7B.
I move approval of ordinance number 2021-12.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. We'll move to 7C.
Ordinance number 2021-16, an ordinance amending paragraph C, official zoning map of section 2-01 established of Article 1, establishment of zoning districts, and official zoning map of chapter 2, district and general regulations of the City of Ormond Beach Land Development Code by amending the official zoning map to rezone a certain parcel of real property totaling approximately 2.7 acres located at 1480 North U.S. Highway 1 from B-7 Highway Tourist Commercial to Planned Business Development, authorizing revision of the official zoning map, repealing all inconsistent ordinances or parts thereof, and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2021-16, read by title only.
Thank you. And I'll ask Planning Director Stephen Spraker to speak briefly on this item, and then I've got a couple cards.
Good evening, Stephen Spraker, Planning Director. The subject property is at 1480 North U.S. Highway 1. So this is the property. U.S. 1 is along the east. Gower Street is to the north. Flagler Street, which is both opened in this area, and then is a stormwater drainage, butts it to the west. And then Magnolia, an open street, butts it to the south, also part of the drainage area. Before you tonight are two interrelated zoning actions. The first is a zoning map amendment to take the property from its B7 Highway Tourist Commercial zoning to the Planned Business Development. And the reason to do that is to approve a site-specific development plan. So the second part of that interrelated zoning actions is the issuance of the development order. So if we use this as a US 1 frontage here, the property has a 36-foot greenbelt buffer. There are two billboards that are proposed to stay. As we go around the site along Gowers, the property will improve Gowers to make it a conforming right-of-way and add a sidewalk. Along Flagler, they'll maintain the natural tree preservation area and bring an access point into here, preserving the stormwater system that's already in the other portion of Flagler. The building is located, shown in yellow. It's about 16,853 square feet. Next to that is the garden center. The garden center has a closed area, and it also has a loading area, which is a unique site design to this property. The building has been shifted to 10 feet to Gower Street in order to save this historic tree. So the goal of the shifting of the building is to save this historic tree. And there's additional outdoor storage with a chlorine tank and a propane tank. So that's the short summary of the project. Earlier tonight, you approved the right-of-way vacations. There is a right-of-way along Flagler, which had a 5-foot right-of-way vacation, and there were two internal alleys. As part of the plan development, there are 5 items that we are seeking to get commission authorization on. The first is the outdoor activity. Outdoor activity is allowed but requires a public hearing approval either through a special exception or a plan development. Again, the garden center and the chlorine and propane tanks are the outdoor activity. The side corner setback is sought to be reduced from 20 feet to 10 feet in order to save that historic tree. So that's the purpose of the second item. The third item is our land development code requires a 50-foot setback for the intersection of the street. The site plan reduces this down to 20, again, to save that stormwater retention area, and there is no other properties accessed off of that area. The fourth item is the rear facade. The original submittal in February 5th had a stucco finished facade. When they submitted for the plan development, they sought metal panels on the rear towards Flagler Road, where there is basically that stormwater swale and a storage facility. The planning board did recommend approval of allowing the metal panel walls, and that would again be on the rear west Flagler Road. The last item is the fencing around the garden center. The original submittal had a decorative simulated wrought iron fence around the garden center. So it would be on the front, and then it would be on the south side, the side interior, and then the rear. With the plan development application, they sought to allow a 10-foot black chain link fence with a mesh around it. The planning board kind of debated it back and forth. They went to a 3-3 tie, so they didn't really come up with a recommendation for commission. So we defaulted back to the city staff's recommendation of the simulated wrought iron. At the planning board, the applicant requested that just the rear, where you already have the metal panels, to be allowed to have the black chain link vinyl fence. So that may be an option that the commission may want to consider if that is acceptable. So kind of summarizing the 5 requests and what the planning board and staff was, the planning board was very supportive of the project. This is the type of project that we want on the North US 1 corridor. It is a great retail use and is going to be a strength of this community for a long time. So the first 3 items, both staff and the planning board recommended. The rear facade, staff picked up the planning board's recommendation to allow the metal panels. That's the way the ordinance is written. And then the last one, the ordinance is written to require the decorative aluminum fencing. So if you want to change that, that would be in Exhibit D, Item 8, if you sought to amend the garden center fencing. Staff is available for any questions, and the applicant is also here to address the commission.
You said Exhibit D, Item 8?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And then any questions for Stephen?
Yeah, I have a question. Stephen, on item 4, why is staff recommending that be finished,
So
rear of the building?
Our land development code has specific architectural standards. And in addition, our plan developments have even higher standards. So basically, the standards of the land development code require a finished facade around the entire building. And this is something that staff has consistently done. There will be individuals who are traveling from Flagler to Gowers who will see this. Is it the end of the world if it goes to metal paneling? Absolutely not. But from a staff perspective, we're very consistent in that it should always have a finished facade.
And then, if I may also, Mayor, on item 5, just to help me to understand, where are we at on that? I mean,
So the planning board was not able to come to a recommendation. Mm-hmm. So you had 3 members who thought it was appropriate to have the decorative wrought iron around the entire, and then you had 3 members who were supportive of the chain link fence, at least along the rear. So again, that's a city commission decision. If you want the decorative wrought iron, that's the way it's written today in item Exhibit D, Item 8. If you want to allow flexibility, the front, I think in all cases, would be the decorative wrought iron. This would be the side, so that would be the south side of the building, and then this is the very rear of the building.
so, and would the decorative wrought iron have the black mesh on it also?
I don't believe the applicant indicated that.
So only the chain link would have the mesh?
Correct.
Okay.
And again, if you feel that's appropriate, you can add that as a condition.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I was just, if I may, Mayor, Lowe's, for example, has the black chain link fence with a mesh around it, correct?
I believe they have the simulated wrought iron.
Oh, is it?
I believe so. and I believe the mesh has kind of worn away through the years. But
Right, it has. All the way, does it have it all the way around? I could swear.
Now, they've added chain link fence in their parking lot, which that's another story. But I believe their garden center is wrapped with decorative
Rods?
wrought iron,
Okay, thank you.
as is Walmart, I believe.
Walmart does, yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you, Stephen, for now. I have a card from Tim Grigsby.
Hello, my name is Tim Grigsby, 1206 Overbrook Drive, Ormond Beach, Florida. I'd like to speak against the approval of the site plan for the Ace Hardware on US 1. I don't have a problem with the Ace or even the Gross family, but I do have a problem with utilizing this property to cause more flooding issues in the neighborhood. If you were up there yesterday or today, you will see that the underperforming swales are already flooding into the roadways. So access to this Ace at times will have to be done by boat. So until we solve this problem with the flooding, we should not allow any development that adds impervious surface in this area or other areas in Ormond where we have flooding issues. And I still have some time. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Dream Green Volusia, the North Florida Land Trust, thousands of concerned environmentalists and local citizens who came together.
Tim, we're not talking about that right now. We're strictly on 7C.
Other people get off.
So
anyways, the
Seamus,
county
if you would
approved.
like to say anything on your application, Seamus Schroeder is here for the applicant commission. If you have any questions of him, he's on an
Okay, Volusia County voted 6-0 to approve the purchase of those 32 acres. So I was happy about that. Thank you very much.
Have a nice evening. Seamus, did you want to answer any questions or provide any
The
additional?
engineer, I was just the first one here. Mr. Gross is the applicant.
Jeff,
I
did
can
you want
handle
to?
any engineering-related questions.
Any questions for
Yeah,
Mr. Gross?
I do have a question for the applicant. So, Mr. Gross, if you could tell us what your preference is on item 5, the fencing, wrought iron versus chain link, and whether or not there's black mesh everywhere or only on chain link, et cetera. I mean, how would you like to see it?
So what we'd like to do is like to have the decorative aluminum fencing across the front of the building, 2-foot knee-high wall around the side and partial on the back with 6-foot black chain link fencing with screen mesh on it. Across the back would be also chain link fencing with screen mesh.
And I'm sorry, did you say on the front you wanted the wrought iron?
Decorative aluminum fencing.
Would there also be mesh in the front too?
No,
or
there would not be.
Okay. Okay. All right, good.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Persis.
And could you explain why you don't want to finish the stucco off in the back? Okay.
Yeah, in our opinion, it won't be seen. I mean, it's facing woods, it's facing a drainage ditch, it's facing RV storage, and it's facing railroad tracks.
Okay.
I don't see any reason to put the expense into stucco in the building when it's not facing. If it's in a neighborhood or in an area that would be prevalent to the public, absolutely.
Okay, and is it a huge cost difference for you?
There is definitely a cost difference.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have any additional cards. Stephen or Randy, 7C is just the zoning. It's not the development order. So anything as far as the fencing or any of the other items, those you prefer to deal with on the development order, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I'll move ordinance 2021-16.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah,
or
this is,
Commissioner Kent.
as you said, you explained what we're voting on tonight, and I'll just let the applicant know I'm a big fan of Ace Hardware and your family and what you've done in this community. I just want you to know from me, I prefer the aluminum fencing where it was originally going to be and with staff's recommendation. I could handle the metal panels in the back without the stucco. Although, Mr. Spraker, you mentioned that it could be seen, and I heard the applicant say it was only going to be seen from the storage place and a railroad. So to me, I could go along with that. I'm going to approve this tonight, but I would like to see, instead of chain link fencing with mesh, I would like to see it just done first class.
Thank you. Anyone else at this point? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes, and that takes care of the planned business development. Now we'll move to 7D for the development order.
Ordinance number 2021-17, an ordinance approving a planned business development to be known as Ormond Ace Hardware, to be located at 1480 North US Highway 1, authorizing the execution and issuance of a development order, therefore, authorizing the construction of a 2-story retail use building and garden center, authorizing outdoor activity use, reduction of setbacks, and associated site improvements, established conditions and expirations of approval, and setting forth an effective date. This is the first reading of ordinance number 2021-17, read by title only.
Thank you, and I don't have any cards on this one. I need a motion and a second, and I guess we need to address the fencing around the garden center issue. And then, of course, I mean, any commissioner is free to make any motion dealing with items 1 through 5, but the planning board had pretty good consensus on 1 through 4. It was just that 5th item that they needed some direction, so we can have a motion and then kick that around.
I move approval of ordinance number 2021-17.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and that is with staff's recommendation, I'm guessing,
With staff's recommendation, yes.
and that's your second.
I'll second that, but I would like to discuss the 5th item, the fencing.
Okay,
Me too.
let's kick that around a little bit.
And my recommendation is that we go with the applicant's request, which is the wrought iron across the front of the building, and then it's black chain link fence with the black mesh on the side and the rear.
All right. How does everybody feel about that? Commissioner Kent, I think you've made your preference.
Right. And I also wanted to hear from Mr. Spraker about item 4, because from what I've seen from the map, I agree with the applicant. It's trees and a railroad and a storage facility. If that's the case, then I'm okay with the metal panels. But you mentioned that it was going to be seen elsewhere. What am I not seeing that you're seeing?
So Broadway is going to be a highly traveled roadway, already is. Security First, other Ormond Crossings properties. So the cut through to get around this intersection will be Flagler to Gowers, either to Ormond Ace or back to US 1. So this turning movement is going to see the rear of that building. Now, is that enough to make them finish the building? That's really a policy decision. But there will be traffic coming through this corridor that will be able to see the rear of that building.
I get what you're saying, and I appreciate your perspective from staff. I do. I'm going to respectfully disagree with you and say that could it be seen possibly if someone's staring at it out of the corner of their eye as they're going through Flagler to Gower Street. But I agree with the applicant. Unless you're parking your boat behind it or storage camper, you're not going to see that. That's not a passenger rail. So I don't see an issue with that. I would like to see, I disagree with Commissioner Selby. I would like to see for the garden center fencing to be all decorative aluminum fencing. That's what I would like.
And that's, Stephen, that's what Exhibit D, Item 8 basically requires.
Requires today. So the ordinance is written to require the decorative aluminum fencing around all sides. An amendment would be needed if you want to amend that.
Okay. And I think that's what Commissioner Selby's proposing. Is there a second to Commissioner Selby's?
I second it.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
I just want to confirm, during the motion, the first 4 were done on staff's recommendation, which is stucco for number 4. So is it the intention to make it the metal panels of the motion?
So as the ordinance was written, basically staff picked up planning board's recommendation.
Okay.
So again, we make a recommendation, planning board provides direction, which generally we pick up, and then the commission makes the final decision. So it's written with the planning board's recommendation, to allow the metal panels.
And could you put this, Stephen, could you put the slide back where it had staff recommendation and the planning board yeah, that one. Okay. Okay, so the fencing was, yeah, okay.
So the 2 yellow is how the ordinance is written, to allow the metal panels and require a decorative aluminum fence.
Mm-hmm. And, okay, thank you.
Do you need, Stephen, you need specific language in the amendment or just amending it to the decorative? My understanding is Commissioner Selby wants decorative along the front and then the chain link with screening along the other sides.
Correct, that'll work, and I know the applicant said a height of 8 feet, but I believe in their design drawings they had 10 feet. So we would request to keep that 10 feet. If they go down to 8 feet, that's fine. It's still consistent, but staff can't approve 10 feet if the commission approves 8 feet. So I would keep it at a 10-foot height,
Okay.
even if they don't use all 10 feet.
And that's your intention, Commissioner Selby? The 10 feet?
I'd like to hear again from the applicant. Is that okay?
Yeah, we thought the city had a problem with the 10 feet, so we were willing to go 8. We're just concerned about the aluminum decorative versus the chain link fencing. The aluminum decorative is going to require some more maintenance. If somebody runs into that, you have to replace the whole panel. Somebody runs into a chain link fence, there's some give there, not as much damage to the customers' cars, things like that. So we're fine with 8 foot or 10. If the city prefers 10, we'll do 10. We'd like to do 8 just to cut the cost down, put it on a 2-foot knee wall, 6-foot high fencing, total of 8 foot.
Right. Yeah, so that's a good question for you, Stephen. Did you mean 10 feet of fence on top of the 2-foot knee wall, or 10-foot height, which is 2 feet knee wall and 8-foot fence?
So if the ordinance is written at an 8-foot height, right?
Okay.
And for whatever reason, they come back and say, we want to go 10 feet. Staff does not have the ability to approve that. We're going back through the whole plan development process. So I would recommend you keep it at 10 feet, and if they only want to do 8 feet, it's still consistent. But we don't have to come back to, not that public hearings aren't great, we don't have to come back through the whole process in order to get them the extra 2 feet. So if they're sure it's 8, but that's what it's going to be. Staff doesn't have the ability to adjust that.
If I can make a recommendation, you can make it up to 10 feet. So
That sounds good.
Gives a little flexibility built in.
Yeah, staff can't go higher, but they're comfortable going a little lower. But do you want to use that up to language?
Yes, up to.
And the seconder is good with that?
No, yeah, I have one.
And for the record, I love public hearings.
Me too.
Just want to be on the record.
Commissioner Persis.
No, I just want to thank the applicants really, because I think this building is going to be a gem right in that place that you're building it. And of course, I think we all just want it to look look Ormond Beach worthy, and sounds like you're trying really to do your very, very best to do that. So thanks for that. Just want to say that.
All right. So this vote will be on the amendment 27D, specifically regarding item 5, which did not have a recommendation from the planning board for us. Everybody ready to vote? Madam Clerk, if you would, please call the vote on the amendment.
Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And now we will vote on the ordinance as amended. Just let me make sure nobody has anything else they want to add. Please call the vote on the ordinance as amended, 7D.
Okay. Commissioner Selby,
Yes.
Commissioner Kent,
Yes.
Commissioner Persis,
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton,
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We'll move on to second reading of ordinances 8A.
An ordinance of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, amending Article 1, General Employees Pension Plan of Chapter 16, Pensions and Retirement of the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 16-6, Benefit Amounts and Eligibility, amending Section 16-17, Minimum Distribution of Benefits, providing for compliance with the Secure Act, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2021-13, read by title only.
Thank you. I don't have any cards.
I second the motion. Or a move of approval.
I'll second the motion.
Perfect. Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Kent.
Yes.
Commissioner Persis.
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton.
Yes.
Commissioner Selby.
Yes.
Mayor Partington.
Yes. And 8B.
Ordinance number 2021-14, an ordinance of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, amending Article 3, Firefighters Pension Trust Fund of Chapter 16, Pensions and Retirement of the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 16-44, Contributions, amending Section 16-45, Benefit Amounts and Eligibility, amending Section 16-46, Retirement Death, amending Section 16-55, Minimum Distribution of Benefits, providing for compliance with the Secure Act, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2021-14, read by title only.
Thank you. I don't have any cards.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the vote.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. And 8C.
Ordinance number 2021-15, an ordinance of the City of Ormond Beach, Florida, amending Article 4, Police Officers Pension Trust Fund of Chapter 16, Pensions and Retirement of the Code of Ordinances, amending Section 16-76, Benefit Amounts and Eligibility, amending Section 16-86, Minimum Distribution of Benefits, providing for compliance with the Secure Act, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the second reading of ordinance number 2021-15, read by title only.
Thank you. No cards.
I move approval of ordinance number 2021-15.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Commissioner. And Kelly was so confident on these that she didn't even step inside for the votes. The city's pension ordinances must comply with federal guidelines and the most current collective bargaining agreement. So these changes are administrative in nature, but they were required by the Florida Division of Retirement. And so that's why we're voting on them. That's why there wasn't, it is second reading on each. That's why there wasn't a lot of discussion, but just wanted to make that clear. And if you would, please call the vote.
Commissioner Littleton?
Yes.
Commissioner Selby?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Persis?
Yes.
Mayor Partington?
Yes. And reports, suggestions, and requests. And tonight we start with City Manager Joyce Shanahan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I wanted to start to review with you your budget calendar workshops. As you know, those are coming up. Staff plans to, and I think we've spoken with each of you, but if we haven't, now's the time to say, hey, that we plan a budget workshop for the CIP and the draft budget on July 6th at 5:30 p.m. So mark your calendars for that. Is there anybody that's not been spoken to about that? I think we've all been spoken to. Before that workshop, sometime between June 21st and July 2nd, somewhere in there, whatever your schedule allows, we'll schedule individual workshops like we have last year so we can get you up to speed on what's happening. And then at your July 20th meeting, you typically approve the tentative millage that night, and we'll have one final run-through of the capital and CIP, any changes that you might have made on the 6th, and we'll have those ready for you then. Just so you're planning ahead, the Parks and Rec Master Plan workshops, they're undergoing that right now. Those are scheduled for August 17th at 5:30 p.m. and January 18th at 5:30 p.m. That's 2022. We are planning our Memorial Day Remembrance ceremony. We like to do that every year. Last year we weren't able to do that because of COVID, but we are embracing that. We'll have a somewhat abbreviated program, and we will encourage social distancing. We're likewise working on our fireworks for July 4th, I'm happy to report. It'll largely be a fireworks-only display. We'll have some, maybe a food truck or two at the casements, but it'll be a limited event at that time. CIP projects, the McDonald House, I'm pleased to report that that's making good progress. The contractor shared that they're a little ahead of schedule. I always hate to say that because then they fall behind. They have scaffolding has been erected on the east side for the replacement of the upper portion of the siding, and that work is anticipated to be completed in June. You may be reading that there are some supply shortages for lumber and whatnot nationally, so we're trying to encourage the contractor to order his supplies as well in advance so we don't fall behind schedule. Let's see, what else? The North US 1 water and force main, the contractor completed a major milestone last week, and that was pushing the pipe through under I-95. We have to coordinate with the Florida Department of Transportation to do that, and I'm pleased to say that went well. Peninsula and Mainland water replacement project, we have that's an ongoing project we do every couple of years. It's on a 2-year cycle. The consultant is surveying firms currently and collecting field information for the design of this project, and surveying will continue through May. Let's see what else. Last but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out to Chief Jesse Godfrey. Cassie, if you could put that picture up for me, please. Chief Godfrey participated with 8 other law enforcement officers at the Master's Domain Church of God in Christ on Sunday to participate in Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And each of the 8 chiefs and the sheriff that were there were asked to do a 3 to 5 minute talk about law enforcement in the community. And it's really difficult if you're not first up to really have something original to say when you're working in that kind of group with such well-qualified people. The chief, I think, was number 5 or 6, and when he got up, he really spoke about the trust that's important for a community to have with their residents and how their department works on that every single day. And really it resonated with everybody there. Nobody else had yet mentioned trust and how integral that is no matter what you're doing, whether it's community policing or whatever. So I just want to give shout outs to Chief Godfrey, and they gave him a token of appreciation. The pastor of Master's Domain actually lives in Ormond Beach, so he calls our chief his chief. So he took his time out on Sunday afternoon to go and participate in that. Captain Roos and I joined him there and supported him in that effort. And I was just really proud of his leadership and taking the time to do that and really having remarks that resonated with everybody in the room. So with that, I don't have any other questions, and I'm happy, any other issues, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the city manager?
Yes, I have a question.
Commissioner Sully.
Ms. Shanahan, Avalon Park's been in the news lately, and we talked about having a workshop on that, which was, I think, originally going to be back in February, and then staff told us that you weren't quite ready, the consultant, you were waiting on that, and recently you and I had a conversation about rescheduling that workshop, and I just want to, when will we have the workshop? When is the workshop going to happen?
Well, there's a couple things happening. First of all, HDR has not yet finished the video, and that's the primary item that we're waiting for, and Sean can elaborate further on that if need be. So they expect 2, 3, 4 more weeks to finish that video. And then we have to finish the traffic impact analysis. That has not been completed yet. I think, Sean, did you say that would be ready, a draft in May or June? May?
Draft in May and final in July.
Final in July. So, we've got that window there. On top of all of that, Avalon has indicated that they're going to pursue, right now, the Mento project, which was approved in 2018 by Daytona Beach. At that time, it was for 1,577 residential units and up to 200,000 square feet of commercial space. Those entitlements are already existing, and they can build that tomorrow if they like. Their initial amendment for the Big Avalon Park project, as I understand personally from Mr. Colley today, that amendment expired March 30th or 31st, and they have not pursued reopening that. I have the sense from Mr. Colley that they're going to pursue the Mento build-out first before they venture onto that. That's not saying it should change what we're planning on doing, but I think if we're looking for a workshop, it would be early June at the earliest.
And I think it's a timing issue, if I can just add on, Commissioner Selby. This is complicated. It seems like everything we do is complicated, but when they say they're starting the Avalon project, they're not starting what we've all been thinking about as the Avalon project. They're building out the rights that they bought from Minto. I think they purchased that from ICI or whoever decided they weren't going to finish that part of it. So they're finishing up that little project and calling that the beginning of Avalon. It's not what Ormond Beach has been concerned about as far as being Avalon. And so how we explain that to people and message that to people, I'm not sure, because it's so complicated and convoluted. But Commissioner, you have been a driving force to have a public workshop on the actual Avalon project that we've been concerned about. And that, I think, is coming. I think it's important timing-wise that we do it at the right time, because we absolutely need our residents engaged on that and very informed on that. But what Avalon is doing right now, and may be doing for the next 3 or 4 years, is building out a project that they already have approvals on. I don't think people realize the initial Avalon that we've all been very concerned about expired, and now they're coming back, as I understand it, on that and asking, instead of for 3,000 homes, they're asking for 10,000 or 16,000 homes. And that's what we really need to be heard on, and we need, very importantly, to have our citizens engaged with Daytona Beach and Volusia County when those approvals go forward. And so that's why I'm comfortable with delaying our workshop. The other reason, I feel like with the video regarding the traffic, we only have one shot to get that right. And I would ask, I don't know if anybody else on the commission agrees, but I think we need, Joyce, to have that shared with the commission separately and get all the feedback you can get, so that we make sure this one chance we have to make people understand what's going to happen with traffic if that project is approved the way that they're asking without any infrastructure in place. We need to make sure that that's as effective as possible so people understand. And so, I mean, timeline-wise, we could ask, I guess, the city manager to give us, would it be September? Would it be October? Do we wait until, we don't know when they're going to file for their approvals with Daytona on the original Avalon that we were dealing with, not the Minto part?
Mr. Mayor, can I jump in real quick?
Yes, please.
Just to kind of reinforce what the city manager has indicated to you. So where we're at today is a much better place than we were at this time last year. This time last year, the proposal was for the build-out of the entire area, and that would have required the developer to go through a change to Daytona's comprehensive plan amendment. And because of the planning director's hawkish work on that, we were able to jump on that even during the course of the pandemic. Since that time, we have all worked very hard to understand the potential impacts from the greater development. For whatever reason,
the developer has decided not to pursue a massive development that would require them to go through the comp plan amendment. So the comp plan amendments that they previously had in the pipeline have expired. What they're proposing to do now is what they're entitled to do under the existing comp plan of Daytona Beach. Daytona Beach, when they annexed the land in 2002-ish, something like that, they then brought the land in under Daytona's comp plan in about 2010, roughly, like that. So, and we go through the same process here. When you annex land, then you have to bring it in under your comp plan. There's no timeline in the statute that says when you have to do that. Typically, what will happen, or at least what happened in this case, was when Daytona brought the land in under its comp plan, it simply allocated the same types of entitlements to the land that it enjoyed when it was in unincorporated Volusia County. So that is what the developer is proposing to develop as we sit here today, which is vastly different than the plan that we were looking at this time a year ago. And the city manager is correct. We still do need to understand the potential impacts from the greater development. It's going to take some time for the consultants to prepare all of those documentations. But I think the good news for us, at least from a staff perspective, is we feel like we have a little bit of breathing room to continue working on those consultant staff reports. And we worked hard to establish some dialogue with the counterparts. And I think we're hopeful that in the long term, we can establish a good working relationship with some shared information, which will only make it better when staff comes back to you to share what we have learned. So I don't know if that helps, but it's been a very fluid project. So it's been difficult to nail down on a timeline certain of the things I think that you all would like to have. But it's been very active. So I just wanted to kind of fill that in a little bit. So
thank you, City Attorney. And Commissioner Selby, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I would be curious to see what sounds like what they've done is they're going to accept the density that was previously approved or that came with the land. I suspect that their site plan concentrates that density in a small portion of the total parcel, okay, giving them the opportunity to come back at a later date after they have residents and after they have some acceptance of the community and build out and then get the changes to their comp plan to allow additional density, would be my guess. I don't think they're going to try to fill up all the land and suck up all their density, not with what they paid for the land. So I think the only thing that's changed is they're going forward with what they had approved already.
As long as, are you getting, because I know it took me a few minutes to wrap my mind around it. They have purchased the Minto part of it from ICI, I believe, and they're building
I think they
that.
bought it directly from Consolidated.
Okay, so they're building Consolidated. Yeah. ICI was going to do it, but they didn't exercise their option, so it reverted back to Consolidated. Now they've purchased it from Consolidated, but that is not the parcel that had the 3,000 original units on it. So that's the portion that's, I think, a little, is it north of
There's three parcels.
Latitude Margaritaville?
I don't know if you have a map. Do you want to show them that?
So I guess this sort of builds my case for why we need a workshop. Because I'll speak for me. I don't understand all this. I'm not well versed on all this. And the other huge issue is our requirement to provide water and sewer at wholesale price. And the economics of that, I really need to know. I can't establish policy relative to this project without understanding the economics of that. So there are a lot of things that could be talked about that, I don't know. I haven't been brought up to speed on, and that's why I would like to have a workshop on that so that we can get up to speed on that. That's my position, and even what they recently approved that went through their planning board, I honestly don't know. I know all I know is what I've read in the newspaper, and I don't, that may or may not be accurate. I don't know. I don't know what they actually got approved. So that's my point. I think maybe it's several workshops. Maybe it's one to just understand what did they get approved, what might they do in the future, and what are our responsibilities as the city of Ormond Beach to this project.
So with regard to, we have two studies undergoing now. We've engaged HDR to look at the transportation and help us with the video. The other piece, we're working with a utility consultant to help us quantify some of those questions that you have. We're just in the start of that process, so we don't have any of those answers for you yet. It's not that we haven't been working towards that. Like Randy said, it's a very fluid process. I think what I would like to do is to update you one-on-one on these issues and where we're at. And then once those pieces come together, then we can start with a workshop or a series of workshops to share that with the public as well.
Good deal. I think that answers it, Commissioner. And then with what Randy said, we've had a little more cushion of time because of events. So, we're working towards where you want to get to, I believe. It's just not, which government never does, happening as fast as any of us would like. So, but no, I appreciate you staying on top of the issue, and please bring it up again at some point if you think it's still not moving fast enough.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions for the city manager? If not, we'll go to our assistant city manager, Claire Whitley.
No comments. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Claire. And city attorney, Randy Hayes.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. And we start tonight with Commissioner Littleton.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to start off by saying that the Granada closing at the railroad, could have turned into a disaster, but thanks to a great social media presence and getting the word out, and thankful to the workers for actually getting the job done ahead of schedule, it was very much a good project and as least troublesome as it could be. Furthermore, Joyce, you should know that Claire did a fine job while you were on your little vacation. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Claire, for that. Yep. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner. And Commissioner Selby.
Yeah, that reminds me, I should have asked you, how is Chris doing?
He's doing well.
Okay. Very good. Very good. I just have 4 items tonight. 56 North Beach Street. I'm now your representative to the Main Street Board, so I knew we had a board meeting last night, a Zoom meeting, and that was a recommendation from the Design Committee adopted by the board to not pursue demolition of the building for at least 6 months, and then to also make it watertight and dehumidified, which I think can be done. And this was precipitated by the Main Street Design Committee meeting that then where we talked about that building, and then we had a walkthrough of the building last Friday. Was it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. Friday, right? Yeah, Friday, last Friday, with probably, 10 or 15 folks. Also, a couple of representatives from the Historical Society walked through the building also. And I will say that surprisingly, it's in much better condition than I thought it was in. And by the way, it's been 3 years since we purchased that property. It was 2018 when we purchased that property. It's almost 3 years. And then also the suggestion that there are volunteers available to do the trash out. Get all there's still a lot of just junk and debris and things from the church when they were occupying it. as well as the potential for some, the donation of some dumpsters to put that trash in and then have it hauled off. So Main Street's willing to do that, and so I hope that we can look favorably upon that. I don't know if we should take action on that right now, or if you...
Well, I think we need to talk about it, because if I recall, we had, I don't remember the vote, but I thought we had given direction to demolish it when we thought we were going to use it as a community center site, and I don't know if that's changed or not, or where we're at exactly, but I think we do need to talk about that.
In January of last year, it was a vote of 3-2 to move ahead with demolition to get prices for that. Staff did that, and then came the pandemic. So that kind of didn't go anywhere for several months. We have had an agenda item ready to go. It's floated around because I knew that there were some concerns out there. So we probably need to, if you all want to discuss that, staff can bring that back to you as an agenda item about whether or not to move forward with demolition. I will tell you that on Saturday we had those really heavy rains that came through. We even had dumps of hail at my house. There was some water damage to the inside of the church. There's 4 leaks, so those have to be cleaned up. The carpet did get wet in some areas, so we're going to have to either rip that out or treat it for mold because we can't have that. So we're getting prices on doing a tarp on the roof and whatnot. So I can bring that back to you at your next meeting so you can see where we're at with that. And if you still want to move forward with demolition, we're ready to do that. And then, so that's kind of where we are with that.
Okay. And we're not making any decisions tonight. We're just talking about it. But between now and the next meeting, I anyway would like to have a walkthrough of it. I haven't been in there in several years. And if any other commission member would like a walkthrough, maybe with Robert separately, obviously, yes, if we could set those up so that we could see for ourselves what the condition is. Commissioner Selby, was the more expensive parcel on the riverfront, do you remember what the division, was that addressed in the appraisal? Or?
Yeah, well, I don't recall if it was specifically in the appraisal, but certainly in speaking with the, I think I spoke with, did Cooksey do the appraisal? I think Cooksey. I don't remember.
We had 2, so.
2, yeah. But anyway, I think we paid $729, and I think the general consensus was the riverfront piece was $500,000, was $500,000 of the $729,000, and so the church building itself and that land is $229,000. So the vast majority of the value is in the riverfront parcel.
That's what I remembered. And I'm not sure, as we continue to look at a community center and how much space we would need for that now that we're somewhat post-pandemic. We have a little ways to go, obviously, but that site may be too small, and there may be an opportunity here at our library with the expiration of the lease with the county coming up. I'm not sure that the county is going to want to renew that and continue to pay the rent that they've been paying for that prime location for library space. That would be a beautiful community center with riverfront views and perfect built-in parking with just some modifications that would make it a very reasonable location for that, and then would free this property up for possible other uses, whether it's demolished and turned into parking, whether it's done something with, as Main Street indicated tonight. I don't know where we would end up with any of that, but I'm happy to keep talking about it and looking at options and listening to our residents and deciding what's best for the city. And let me let somebody else talk so I don't. Commissioner Kent.
Yeah, and Ms. Shanahan, I too would like to request a private walkthrough of the building because I'm hearing that it didn't look so bad, but this commission hasn't changed from when we had the vote of 3-2 to demolish the building. And I've heard through the grapevine that a private developer looked at it and it was tons of money to get this building to be habitable, and they passed on the deal, And I don't have nearly enough information to go in depth to talk about this, but I can tell you for me, that leak from this past rain that we're having today and yesterday and a couple of days ago, that leak I don't believe started this weekend.
Probably not.
Right.
It's been pretty dry now.
So that being said, I'm not for spending any money on tarps or cleaning carpets or anything if we're going to demolish the building. That's just, I can't defend that to my constituents, nor do I want to. I would be shaking my head at my elected representative to spend money like that. In fact, decisions like that are why I ran, to stop nonsense and money being thrown out the window, for things like that. Now, if it was a 3-2 vote the other way and 3 wanted to save the building, then, maybe we should be putting a tarp on it and trying to clean the carpets. But I'm not there. I need a lot more information. I want to hear from my constituents. I know a lot of people want to weigh in on this issue. So what I'm saying is, for me, no money on the building, and I need more info. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Persis.
Yeah, and I concur with Commissioner Kent 100% about that, definitely, because we did have a 3-2 vote, and I don't want to spend any money if we're going to demolish the building. So I thought we voted on it, and I thought this is what we were going to do. So.
And I don't remember if it was a vote or was it just direction, but you were going to bring something back.
Yeah, I don't think it was an agenda item. I don't recall an actual vote to demolish the building. I don't recall that at all.
It was direction from the commission to bring back demolition costs.
Yeah, it was a generic sort of discussion. And I think what's happening now is that people have looked into the building more and have thought about how it could be used. We got that consultant's report. We pretty well ruled out a community center there. Parking, I think, was our biggest concern. That was my biggest concern. They were going 2 blocks away to get sufficient parking for a community center. So it's maybe not appropriate for that type of use, but it's a big, very well built building that does have architectural significance and mid-century modern historical significance. So I just think what Main Street is asking for is a 6-month pause while we figure out, is there an opportunity to preserve it and to use it appropriately? So,
all right. Anyone else on that? If not, do you need anything else on that one, Joyce? Commissioner Selby, if you would continue with us. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Second item is Main Street events. The Taste of Ormond will be at Destination Daytona on Sunday, May 23rd. So it's coming up in about a month. Christmas in July will be Saturday, July 24th. And the Celtic Festival will be Saturday and Sunday, September 11th and 12th in Rockefeller Gardens, assuming they can get a permit from the city to do it there. Okay, all right, good. There will be a Pastor Floyd Narcisse from AME, New Bethel AME Church, was sort of the instigator of a China virus vaccine event that'll be tomorrow at Nova Rec, and it'll be the Moderna shot. So this will be the first injection of the Moderna virus. Of the Moderna vaccine, and it'll start at 9 in the morning. It will end about 1 o'clock. And they are going to accept walk-ins. You do have to have a form of identification, but you can walk in. You can also make a reservation online. It's through the county, their EMS, their emergency management, on Eventbrite. So just make everybody aware of that. And then finally, Commissioner Persis and I attended the swearing in of 3 new police officers for the Ormond Beach Police Department, and all 3 of our new officers are females, and which I think is fantastic, especially once I heard their bios. At least 2, maybe all 3 are into martial arts. These are. I was impressed. It's an impressive group. So, and I'm glad to see that this is a tough time to recruit police officers just because of the general climate in our country. And these are all, they're all in their 20s. I think the youngest was maybe 20. Is that right, Chief? 20? Was she 20, the youngest? 19? Yeah. And the others are mid-20s maybe, yeah. And but a great group of folks, and we still have some vacancies in the department because we've had, I think, 3 or so retirements in the last couple of months. So it's a good time, and looking forward to having them join the force. And with that, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kent.
Joyce, welcome back, and my best thoughts for Chris. I just have one item tonight, and that is just to tell this community that Ormond Beach recently lost a true friend and a true Southern lady, and I'm referring to Sue Parkerson. And I'll tell you a quick little story about Sue. When I first ran for this seat, Sue campaigned vehemently against me and was not a supporter of mine. And then I won, and she called me, and we sat down and had a meeting. And we quickly became friends, and she was the one that had the idea for Coffee with Commissioner Kent, which most of the other elected officials on this dais now do, or did, before the pandemic. So I actually credit her for their participation as well with their constituents. And you never saw her when her hat didn't match her purse, which matched her shoes. And she was extremely loyal. And that's why she supported the incumbent before me. And I loved that about her. And she was extremely loyal to me. And it's something that is lacking in much of mankind today, loyalty. And I know that I will miss her as a friend. She had a wonderful, long life. And I remember her telling my wife, Heather, and myself at one of our many events together, or dinners, or teas, that she never got angry. And that perplexed us. And Heather asked her, not even at your husband? Yeah, strike one, Heather, right? Not even at your husband? And she said, I don't have time to be angry at anybody, but especially not my husband. And I loved her, still love her, miss her, and Ormond lost a fantastic citizen and a true friend to Ormond Beach. Have a good night.
Thank you, Commissioner. Deputy Mayor Persis.
Good evening, everyone. Well, Commissioner Selby, you stole it from me, darn it. But I do want to say, yes, we did attend to the swearing in of 3 female police officers, and it was so special to see 3 females there, strong women. They're going to help protect our city and make it better. It just was really, to me as a woman, it was just very special to see that. And I put on my Facebook page, like girl power, and I love that. So it was just very special to attend. I wouldn't have missed it. I'm just very proud of those 3 women. And then I wanted to remind everyone that this Thursday is Earth Day, the 51st Earth Day. And I know with COVID and everything, things are different, but I'm hoping next year we can do some things, with the city like we have done in the past. But let's just remember about Earth Day, and it's the 51st anniversary of the birth of the modern environmental movement. So I just wanted to remind everyone. Thank you, and everyone have a good evening.
Thank you. Yep. And tonight, in closing, I wanted to bring up, I saw in the Observer some of the results from the Parks and Recreation Master Plan survey with the city, and I was a little perplexed by some of the percentages. One question was 10 program types polled residents believe are important but not adequately provided by the city, and 43% said community events. And so don't know how they asked that question, but I was perplexed when I look at not only what the city does, but what Main Street does and what the chamber does and putting on community events. I felt like there must be some kind of disconnect. I don't know if they asked that question in the appropriate way, but when you look at King of the Grill, when you look at the Seafood Festival, when you look at the Celtic Festival, when you look at Granada Grand, when you look at all the events that the Ormond Memorial Art Museum does, when you look at Taste of Ormond, when you look at Christmas in July, I mean, almost every weekend there is something going on in this city that is a community event. And so I'm not sure.
King of the Grill.
Yep, King of the Grill.
Yeah, post-COVID type of thing.
Then it could be related to COVID.
We'll find out.
That's as well. The other thing I thought of note in that, and again, I thank the Observer for printing these because it's good to see these results. I don't know if they're on our website yet or not, but 10 facility types polled residents believe are important but not adequately provided by the city, and the highest percentage on that was rental for banquets, receptions, and private parties. And so I thought that highlighted the need for the community center that we've been talking about, that we've put off again because of COVID. Also, when you look at the great project that the Ormond Memorial Art Museum is doing, very exciting, that's going to be exactly that. I thought there was some, maybe those things weren't brought up, or the question wasn't asked in that way, but I at least wanted to bring that up because I know all of our organizations work so hard to put on so many events, and so I thought that was worth talking about. Submerged Lands, we talked about this a little bit a few meetings ago when Commissioner Selby brought it up. I don't know what the cost of that would be if it's for sale. I don't know if the city would be interested in purchasing it. Depending on the price and how it would affect Casson Park, if it could be used in a way that improved the traffic flow and parking of Casson Park, say you put a bait dock on there, basically moved where Ike is out to a facility on that floating dock, well, it'd be a fixed dock on a submerged land. Is that something that Ike would be in favor of? Is that something that Casson Park would help? So I'm hearing it talked about in the community. I'm hearing people already deciding it's a great idea, and so that's why I want to talk about it, to figure out what's going on, what's the cost, are there advantages? I haven't seen any proposals or possible uses, and so I'd like more information on that. And thank you, Ike, for your impromptu first impression, and hopefully we can get some more information on that moving forward. I received a flyer, I believe it was from Joe Daniels, who was with us tonight, for Saturday, May 8th, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Ormond Beach SONC, South Ormond Recreation Center. Together, we celebrate the Ormond Beach African American community. And it says there'll be some refreshments there, but please bring a special memory of the community. If you don't have a special memory of the community, I think you can still come and learn about all the great things that happen in the Ormond Beach African American community. You can learn about Sudan, you can learn about Liberia, hear about Rigby and the Reading Room and Teen Town and the Oak Ridge Cemetery and whatever other memories. We have a rich heritage, and so I think that will be a great day, Saturday, May 8th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And Sue Parkerson, I was so sad to hear of her passing. Thoughts and prayers go out to John and all the rest of the family. She was a true Southern gentle lady and a friend and a wonderful asset to the city of Ormond Beach. And so, as Commissioner Kent said, she'll be missed for sure. And all our thoughts and prayers are with John during this difficult time. With that, we will be adjourned and say good night.